YouTube. Um, I'm doing a video again. I actually thought I stopped doing videos because I don't have time for this, but now I found something for the record collector, and I think I'm the first one who's doing a review on this. It's the new Flatten-It from Pro-ject, and it's a machine to flatten your warped records. And the special thing about this is it comes with a decent price. It's not cheap, but I think it's a fair price. So my story with records is I'm a record collector. I have about 5,000 records, and from time to time you pick up one and you don't check it perfectly, and at home you find out it's warped. So in my beginning I used the usual solution with two glass plates, you know, from a picture frame, and then I put the vinyl between that and put it in the oven. I generally used 58 degrees Celsius, and I put my grill thermometer in the oven so that I really had a solid control about the temperature. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it doesn't work. And I also made the typical mistakes. I put it between the glass plates and then I put some books on top, and that made the problem that the vinyl was not even flattened and the tone arm was dancing sideways after. So I more or less damaged also records with this. The second try was I used thicker glass plates. So here you go normally to IKEA and you get two glass plates. They're about 40 centimeters by 40 centimeters, so they're big enough for a vinyl record, and they are thicker, and I used that, and in the end it was the same result. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Most of the time it didn't. And I also didn't have the guts to really use it, how should I say, turn up the temperature, put it in the oven for, instead of 1 hour, for 4 hours or whatever, because before I ruined some records. So I always thought about buying a vinyl flattener, a professional kit, but it was way too expensive for me, and I don't want to spend 2,000 plus. And at the last record fair we had, someone told me that this thing will come out. And I said, you know what, I order it. I think the regular price is about 800 euros. I got it a little cheaper because I got a deal on the shop I always buy my stuff. It's here where I live, in Salzburg, Eugendorf. You would spell it Eugendorf. So there's a very good vinyl, a very good hi-fi dealer, and he made me a good price. So I thought, what the heck, I give it a try now, because I have records, very expensive records, which are not completely flat. And the first one I want to show you is this one, Mark Cohen. I like the record very much. I found it on the flea market for just a few bucks. I think I paid $4 for it. And the sound of the record is very good. And it was able to play the record on my turntable. As you see, I have a pretty expensive turntable. But when I did it, the tone arm was dancing. And when I see a tone arm dancing, I know there's something wrong, and I don't want to see that. So one solution was this piece of kit here, which is called an outer rim, and it holds the record down on the player. This is pretty heavy, a pretty heavy steel ring, costs a fortune, but it works. But in the end, I thought I wanna use the turntable without this. I mean, this brings something in the sound, because you get a little faster bass and the stage gets a little wider because it dampens the vibration. So this thing makes sense. But with the records, There were some records I could only play with this outer rim, otherwise it wasn't possible. So I was seeing the tone arm dancing and I thought, let's give it a try. And this is one of the records I put in the oven before and it did not work. And I put it between the heavy glass plates and it did not work. So I tried it with this one, and to make a long story short, it worked perfectly. It's perfectly flat and sounds great. You can play it without the ring. It takes about 2 hours. They recommend to use this for 2 hours. You only have two things. You have the power switch and you have a heat and a cooler switch. So basically when you turn the heat switch on, it heats up to about 58 degrees and then it meanders between 58 and 56 degrees. It always goes down to 56 and then again up to 58. And they recommend to do this for 2 hours. And I followed these recommendations first. Because this pressing is from 1991, it's not a very thick vinyl, the typical late 80s, 90s pressing, and I thought that should be enough. What they recommend, and I'm not so sure about this, they put a paper sleeve inside and they recommend to put the record between the paper sleeve. In the future I will try it without the paper sleeve, because paper sleeve always makes me suspicious. But for now I followed the instructions and put it between the paper sleeve, and everything worked really, really fine. These are aluminum plates which heat up, and there's some saying on the internet, when you do this it can damage the sound or improve the sound. Some say after I did this to my record, I had a higher noise level. The crackles are more. For me here, it's the opposite. This record I cleaned about 5 or 6 times, and it always has a little crackle problem. The visual control is, it looks near mint, but it always had a little crackling. And after this process, the crackle got less. It improved the record also sound-wise. I don't know if this will always happen when I flatten a record, but in this case and in the other case it did. So if you worry about this rumor on the internet, when you do this you have more crackle, all I can say, it didn't happen here. Exactly the opposite, improved. So the crackles got less. So this was the first try, and as I said, it worked perfectly. You don't have to worry. I set the timer on my watch, so on my phone, sorry, for 2 hours, and after 2 hours I changed the switch from heating to cooling. And then you have to wait until it goes down to 30 degrees Celsius. That's what they recommend. And as I just started out, I followed all the recommendations. So when the record is cooled down to 30 degrees, you can take it out. And I put it on the table, and it was totally flat. And it also, and I think this is very important, the tone arm was not dancing sideways. So it really flattened the record. But it's not that the grooves got distorted. So tone arm was totally still as it should be. It didn't move up, down, or left, right. So far so good. And then I said, well, what the hell? What the heck? Let's try it with this one. And this is the first pressing for those jazz collectors who know these records. It checks all the marks, that's a Blue Note Lexington label. It has the frame cover, so this is the true first pressing. And the story with this LP is, I bought it on eBay and I found it for a very good price. So I thought, yeah. Then it came, and it was not only warped, it was also warped like a satellite dish. And this was so heavy that you couldn't play it without the rim. And even with the rim, and this is a very heavy rim, it didn't completely flatten the record. There was still movement in the tone arm. And I complained by the seller and said, well, sorry, this record is unplayable. And he was fair, he gave me the money back, and I said, do you want the record back or what? He says, no, throw it away. So what you do then? You know, you find this record, you find it for a decent price. I think it was 160 euros. And the condition is VG plus, the cover is about VG. And I couldn't throw it away, so I put it in the collection and thought, oh, well, let's see what happens in the future. And then I tried it with the two heavy glass plates. And it flattened the record to a level where I could play it with the rim, with this. But the tone arm was still dancing a little. And yeah, it was enough for me to keep the record and don't throw it away. So after my first try with this Mark Cohn record, I said, well, not much to lose, because in the end it's a free record. I give it a try. And as you know, these early Blue Note pressings are pretty high, pretty heavy vinyl. I think they're about 180 to 200 gram. And I thought, well, let's see. And I followed the same instructions. I put it in for 2 hours. It heated up to 56 degrees. I set my timer on my cell phone for 2 hours. Then I put the switch to cooling, waited till it came down to 30 degrees, and surprise, surprise, the record is flat now. And when I say flat, it's not 100% flat, because when you look, when the record is spinning, you see that it makes a little movement, but it's next to nothing. And I think if I put it in there for another 2-hour session, it would completely flatten the record. But in this case, I will not do this, because it's totally fine. It plays perfect, no distortion, and also lower surface noise. So it improved the sound of the record too. And after this I thought, well, I have to make a review about this Flatten-It from Pro-ject, because I think for 800 bucks, this is really a deal, and it really works perfectly. And I'm totally happy, because I have some older jazz records which have a problem, which are warped a little. I have another one from Quebec, and I know it's an expensive record. Let me see if I find it. Yeah. Also a first mono, and this will be the next candidate. And also in my Beatles box, in my Beatles mono box, there's the Sgt. Pepper. The Sgt. Pepper record in there has a little warp. You can play it without the rim and it plays okay, but as I said, I'm a little neurotic when the tone arm is dancing. I don't want to accept this. So, if you ask me, I'm a musician for 40 years. I'm a vinyl collector for 6 years now, and I have about 5,000 records, and I have some really, I have about 100 Blue Note originals, so I have some expensive records too. And I trusted this kid to do no harm. I'm really happy with this, and I can recommend it 100%, because compared to the others, it's a really good price. I think 800. I mean, nothing in hi-fi is cheap, you know, nothing in hi-fi is cheap, but I think for 800 bucks, that's a deal. I think that's a fair deal. and it works like a charm, and it will improve my record collection. And when I do this and the other Blue Note, I think I already have the money back just by improving the value of these rare records. So that's it for now. That's my story with this new piece, and I hope this review helped anybody. As far as I researched on the web, I think this will be the first review of this Flatten-It from Pro-ject, because I couldn't find one, and I wanted to find one before I buy it, and then I saw, well, I'm pretty much the first one who bought it, because this is an Austrian product. You know, Pro-ject is an Austrian company. I'm from Austria, and my hi-fi dealer knows this guy from Pro-ject personally, so maybe I'm one of the early ones who have this. Sorry, my cell phone is ringing. And so I thought I'd make a video. So finally, the first time I'm the #1 on the Google. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope this helps to make a decision. If this is something for you, for me, I give it 2 thumbs up. Works like a charm. Would buy it again any minute. So see you. Bye bye.